Listen very carefully and follow my instructions. Prepare your brain for the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast.
I gotta tell you, being an entrepreneur, I will not go through the rest of my career without taking nootropics. Aniracetam, Piracetam, Modafinil, Nupep, Uridine monophosphate. I mean, phenylpiracetam, forget it. You can always have a better brain.
The Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast is about to begin.
Episode number 94 of the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Ballo. We're going to talk about Aniracetam for 12 months straight. This is actually a clinical study on some people that were having a degree of cognitive impairment. And in the study, it's also interesting to point out that both cognitive function was improved in some of these people, but also the stability of their mood, essentially like their emotional state was improved after a short time of taking Aniracetam. So we're going to dig into this, and I think there's a couple major points. Like it's those 2 points. Aniracetam improves cognitive impairments, but it also can improve mood. But it's also a demonstration of long-term usage of Aniracetam. I'm not the first to suggest that people continuously take any nootropic compound because they just make a lot of changes to the brain. You want to cycle off, give yourself a bunch of options. But, in situations where there's just a lot wrong, and you need to fix it, longer-term Aniracetam is appropriate, and even taking it after for a year straight is appropriate. Okay, so let's get through the product promotion stuff, kind of show you what the heck's going on over here at Cortex Labs. We got some great products on sale right now. First of all, check us out on the web, LiveCortexcom. Like us on Facebook, please, if you would. If you support this broadcast, I need you to go to Facebook. Just open up a browser, go to Facebook, search for Cortex Labs, and then like our page. We've got a couple products that support this broadcast. They are the following. Number one, the Cortex Nootropic Stack. I mean, we built a strong pre-made stack, the kind of stack that you take if you want to get your brain in gear. It's like wake up, drink some coffee, take some Cortex, you're in. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, need some brain performance, take some Cortex, you're in. Cortex is a kind of stack, too, you can take later at night. 7 o'clock, need to do some night work, take some Cortex, you are in. It's like you get wired in, zoned in, focused, your verbal fluency improves. Everything improves with the Cortex Nootropic Stack. Right now, if you use the coupon code 5, F-I-V-E, you can get Cortex for $28 for what's being called the only pre-made nootropic stack that actually works. Get that at LiveCortexcom. If you need my help personally on anything related to nootropics, we have a consulting service. It's a 40-minute call with me, 15 additional email correspondences. Basically, we just help people figure out stacks that work really well for them and or help them get over brain fog. You can get that at LiveCortexcom. And if you're new to nootropics, we wrote a book for you. It's called Smarter, Better, Faster. It's a surgical guide to using nootropics the way that I've learned to use nootropics. It took me basically 10 years to figure all this out. I divulge it all in a digital downloadable book called Smarter, Better, Faster. You got to read it if you haven't. Get all that good stuff at LiveCortex.com. Okay, so I want to read the aim of the study here, and kind of let's talk about the aim of the study, and then we'll kind of get into the results. The aims are the following. In the present study, we aim to evaluate the efficacy of Aniracetam, either as monotherapy or combined with choline esterase inhibitors, in terms of several neuropsychological parameters in a considerable number of patients with dementia. The results. In our prospective open label study, we enrolled 276 patients with the mean age of 71 plus 8 years. And there was 95 males in that study group with cognitive disorder. So these were people that were relatively old that had some cognitive disorders. Patients were examined with validated neuropsychological tests at baseline. So in the beginning of the study, 3, 6, and 12 months of treatment. So they did it for 12 straight months, and then they were sort of examined with these neuropsychological tests at baseline first to see where they were at month 3, at month 6, and then at month 12. So here's the important part. In patients treated with Aniracetam, all studied parameters were adequately maintained at 6 and 12 months, while emotional state was significantly improved at 3 months. The other interesting thing that happened in this study is that they, I mentioned cholinesterase inhibitors. So they tested people with cholinesterase inhibitors too, and that they found that the comparison between aniracetam and cholinesterase inhibitors with people with relatively mild dementia revealed a significantly better cognitive performance with aniracetam at 6 months and improved functionality at 3 months. Comparing aniracetam monotherapy with combined treatment in the same population, aniracetam performed better in the cognitive scale at 6 months and displayed a noticeable tendency for enhanced mood at 12 months and improved functionality at 6 months. So their conclusions are, our findings indicate that aniracetam, and then they put in parentheses, a nootropic compound with glutamatergic activity and neuroprotective potential, both of which have been demonstrated to happen, is a promising option for patients with cognitive deficit of mild severity. It preserved all neuropsychological parameters for at least 12 months and seemed to exert a favorable effect on emotional stability of demented patients. Okay, so the question that often comes up with nootropics is like, so is this going to happen in somebody that isn't 70 years old that doesn't have a cognitive impairment? And what my research on it all, my experimentation with it all, and then like this large body of anecdotal and sort of evidence that we have consulting people over many years on nootropics, what that's told me is the answer is yes. You can be, because look, cognitive decline starts very early. That we know. Okay, so you could be 35 years old and start to have cognitive problems, or just sort of notice that you're not remembering stuff the same way, brain is really not tip-top shape, and then you can take aniracetam and likely run into similar benefits. I know, for me, like I'm a 34-year-old man, and I probably have some degree of cognitive decline, as I think everybody does. The whole idea with a lot of nootropics is just to slow that down or try to reverse it. But I mean, like if I take 700 milligrams of aniracetam, my performance is better in all those areas than not. It certainly enhances my mood, right? It sort of entices me to want to start the to-do list and get work done. But, I also have, under innumerable occasions, went and done online cognitive tests, and my memory is always better with aniracetam. It just is. I'm more engaged in my work. I certainly have a better working memory. My verbal fluency is a little improved, focus a little improved, but mostly it's just a stimulation of the brain, kind of makes everything, work a lot better. But I think the major point is, and from this, like, I'm not sure what we can extract as far as like how long a healthy 30-year-old or something can take aniracetam. The major interesting point is like, there are no significant side effects determined or noted in this study, and this is taking aniracetam straight for 12 months. I mean, that's huge. So if you want to try to extrapolate like that sort of, comparison or dynamic into somebody who's younger, then, potentially a 3 to 6 month continuous stint of aniracetam isn't all that bad. I guess it really does depend on the degree of cognitive issues that you're having. So if it's really significant, you'd probably be fine taking aniracetam for 6 months straight. I mean, that's always been the case. Like, the more you need a nootropic compound based on some sort of impairment, the longer you can take it without side effects. That has proven true to me, and just kind of looking at people that we suggest it to and people that we consult on and all that kind of stuff. But, looking at this, I mean, like, people are always asking, like, okay, are there studies on nootropics? This is a great one, and it demonstrates that, folks with a mild cognitive impairment that are a little older in age, certainly older than 40, kind of in their 70s, can take aniracetam for a considerable period of time, not run into side effects, and that it improves their performance. The other thing, too, that like if folks are like, interested in this, or like, what about the cholinesterase inhibitors? Yeah, aniracetam perform better than cholinesterase inhibitors. So essentially what these people didn't need is they didn't need more like available acetylcholine in the brain, because that's what cholinesterase inhibitors do. They prevent it from being recycled. It kind of stays extracellularly, and the neurons can uptake it and use it. They didn't need that. They needed a compound to force their brain to use it more and to release it more, not just for it to be there. And that's what racetams do, particularly aniracetam. It forces the brain to like put that neurotransmitter into use. And when it's into use, so there's two things, increasing the quantity of it and then actually getting your brain to use it. When it's in use, that's when you get the cognitive performance. And then lastly, I think, a lot of people look to nootropics for mood improvements. And so folks take like theanine, 5-HTP, ashwagandha, rhodiola, kava, like they take all kind of things like St. John's wort for that type of thing. But Aniracetam is like, for a lot of people, it's anti-anxiety. It's an anxiolytic. But it's totally a good option if you want to improve emotional well-being, emotional stability, and mood. So I thought that would be interesting for you guys to look at. I love reading stuff like this, man. It's just like totally awesome. I love to get into it and kind of share it. And I think, since I know how to look at this stuff, it's fun to kind of break it all down in all of those different points so that people can extract the significant points and then try to see how they can apply it to their life, their productivity, and their experimentation with nootropics. Okay, so thanks so much for listening, everybody. That has been episode number 94 of the Cortex Labs Nootropic Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Balla. Check us out on the web, LiveCortex.com, where we have powerful nootropic products. The Cortex Nootropic Stack, such a significantly strong and widely used. I mean, we ship that to 20 countries. Nootropic, it's just really awesome. If you want to focus, have verbal fluency, have your brain on point, buy a bottle of the Cortex Nootropic Stack. Right now, if you use the coupon code 5, you can get it for $28. This is like November 19th, November 20th time frame, 2018. But that coupon code kind of is ongoing and applies a lot. And you can apply it to our other products too. We have a Nootropics consulting service, which is a 40-minute call with me on nootropics, helping you to find stacks that work really good for you. You can use it for Smarter, Better, Faster, which is our digital book that teaches you everything about nootropics. You got to download Smarter, Better, Faster. If you haven't read it, you got to read it. You got to start there. Gives you awesome stacks. And then we have a bunch of other individualized nootropic stack books that are basically stack lists of Noopept and Racetams and Theocrine and Alcar, Modafinil, and everything else in between. Get all that good nootropic stuff at LiveCortex.com. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Rock on. Talk to you next time.